With stick welding, you're gonna run out of rod. Rods are only so long and you're gonna get so far. If you need to go further, you're gonna have to do a restart. Restarts can be one of those daunting, tricky things that people really don't want to do. Unless you're using an automatic process or a semi-automatic process, you're gonna have to do a manual restart. The method I like to use, you'll chip the crater, you'll strike the arc again right above the crater. I do kind of like what I describe as a upside down question mark, or maybe even a shepherd's crook, and you'll trace the outside edge of the crater, and you'll come back into the center, and then you'll keep on going. Your weld strength comes from having a solid weld bead with full fusion all the way through the thickness. If you have porosity or slag inclusions or a void inside your weld, it's not going to be as strong. So doing a good quality restart is really important. This is what's called the crater. When I strike the arc, I want to try and make sure I strike the arc up towards that top freeze line of the crater. I don't want to try and strike the arc in the center or in the bottom. If I strike the arc there, by the time I'm actually lit and ready to go, I'm in the center. If I try and strike in the center, usually I'm down too low. So if I strike up here at the top of the crater, as I get it lit, I come and I trace around the edge of it and then pop back into the center and then carry on nice and steady. I find that if I trace the rim of the crater, I can blend that puddle in and try and make it look as seamless as possible before I come back into the center and go. So you can kind of see why I say it looks like a question mark or a shepherd's crook. You're going to trace around the outside and back into the center. All right, you can see our first restart here. We blended in nice and good. We can see that it's pretty seamless. Second restart, maybe we pause for too long, get a larger mound on it. Our third restart, we can see a lot of that crater. That's not good, right? Because it's not as thick through this section. So you're gonna have some weakness right there. And then in these other ones where we missed the crater almost entirely, and then these two where we still see the tops of the crater kind of peeking through. We want to just make sure that the weld size per square inch of weld, there's not as much volume of weld through these ones where we miss the crater. Where we tie into the crater nice and good, we know we have the volume we need to have the required strength. We have excessive, we know that we have the volume, but almost might be too much. Where again it creates that stress riser where there's too much strength in here and it puts the forces and makes it more weak along the edges because it doesn't flow its energy as it's being put in tension or compression. So these are just examples of some restarts and how to do them.